Greetings, I am Lies and I use she, her.
And I'm Scandal and I use they, them.
And let's play a game together!
Alright.
Let's do it. Okay,
Let's
we are
do it.
back. And you know what? I don't care how many times I see her braid. It's really beautiful. Like, she does not have that much hair in all of the other hairstyles, but nonetheless, this is beautiful. Now, I will say, for anyone who's going, what do you mean she doesn't have that much hair? So, from knowing someone who had really thick and very long hair, one of my first roommates, when I moved out of the house, who had hair down to her ankles when it was untied, and had a braid about that thick all the way down. When it was braided, it went to her ass, because it takes up a lot of length to make folds of a braid that are that thick.
Yes, you lose a lot of hair length when you are
because what you're doing
Yeah.
is in weaving, in the same way that crochet isn't as long as the yarn.
Yes.
Like, you're losing the length in the weaving of the braid. So having her hair be that long is like, damn, extensions or something. She's added in more.
Especially because there is more braid up top, so...
Well,
yeah.
I think the braid up top, because of the
you think
light
it's like a
color,
separate?
is supposed to be like, I split my hair in half.
Maybe.
And put part of it up here, and then the other part down there. And if you did all of it in one braid just going down, it'd be like twice as thick as that, which, damn, it probably take a long time to dry your hair.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
whoa. But yes, so as much as I think this hairstyle is absolutely gorgeous, I'm going, it's not realistic unless her hair is much longer in her regular state.
Yes.
Anyway, I beg your pardon. Except for I don't beg for anything. What I really mean is, excuse you?
Excuse me, what?
You said, excuse me, what?
I don't...
Oh, my, at the time. Nadia, darling, if we don't head out before sunset, we'll never get back in time. In time for what?
I think this is supposed to be her sister is trying to stop her from doing something.
I think
like her
this is-
sister seems to know something's going on.
This is a fake. Oh, my, look, an obvious distraction.
I did, there
Yes.
it is! Ha 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 ha!
That is, I also think so, yes.
Yes.
But I'm just like, in time for what? She's just like, we won't get back in time. Yes, there we are. Shall I prepare the worminarium for guests? Wormarium. Sorry, wormarium? Wormarium? The wormaritum? Like an arboretum?
The terrarium?
The wormaritum.
Wormaritum.
Wormarium? Like all these different places that you could go, like, oh, what do they call, like a butterfly pavilion?
Right.
So it's a wormavilion.
Wormaville. Oh, God.
The wormavilion.
Right. Well, that's why I said
Would you like to
terrarium.
see the wormarium, the wormavilion, the wormarden?
The wormterrium?
Yes, all of it.
Right.
Worm terrine? That's a food question mark?
The taurine.
The
soup bowl.
Tort of worm. So you like to keep them and you eat them. All right, here we are.
Yes.
Full worm experience.
Need more teeth.
Well, no. No, that, won't be necessary. Why you're reining yourself in, I assume, is only because you're made uncomfortable by your sister's presence. Otherwise, I would expect you to just, clap back hard.
Yes, but also, again, I'm a little now confused by her thing being I was gonna go after my sister, and I resent my sister, and being I resented her, she showed up, and then my sister tried to be I'm gonna make a really obvious overture. Nadia going, fine. No, it's fine.
It's fine.
And it could be that she's doing this very... basically sarcastically. As we've said before, sometimes it's really hard to read these lines for tonally what they're supposed to be, said
It's true. She does look exasperated, though, so perhaps that.
Nadia rises to her feet, taking my hand and pulling me with her. Pulling me.
Pulling me.
You're not getting up faster!
She doesn't get up and invite, gently taking Corazone's hand, She grabs and drags Corazon to a standing position. We're leaving. Corazon grabbing their cane and going, I've got this.
The owl.
Wow, thanks.
And looks down her nose at Blastamil.
Thank you, Praetor. You've been dubiously helpful.
And why that wouldn't be ridiculously obvious is fine. It's fine. I'm okay.
Of course! Let's not try and ask him what he means by, yes, next time you speak to him, just go, beg your pardon, and then let it drop because your sister's like, no, don't ask any further questions about your dead husband who he doesn't seem to understand is actually dead or that you can't speak to the dead. Maybe he's good at seances. We don't want to know. You're just going to believe me.
Do it! Even though, again, like I was saying, it was kind of like she was deeply resentful and seemed to be trying to be like, I will do my own thing, even with you here. And now going, fine, I'll listen to you. Like, it's a very quick, like, change of character.
I was going to say, it's a little odd to me. It's very, very sudden, but I'm just like, why would you not press for that? Also, like, as the apprentice going, speak to him. How do you mean? You know?
Right.
Or something like that. Or going, you know, any kind of leading question to get a little bit deeper. Or even just simply challenging him outright and going, what do you think dead means?
Right.
And seeing what his answer is.
Right.
Anyway, of course. Glad I could be of service, Countess.
Also,
Suddenly
again,
he's all praise and
coming
flattering.
from the other route, so putting in outside knowledge, part of this doesn't, to me, make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Unless basically these demons, who used to be people, mind, really just socially go, it doesn't matter, because whatever you do, you cannot stop me. Like that level of confidence of going like, it doesn't really matter if I say dumb things like that, or basically thoughtless things like that. No one will really suspect anything.
Or even like that, also completely possible, but also an additional possibility of going, they're essentially culturally unaware. They're all foreigners as demons, right? They are like what do you when you move into a place, you're not integrated, you're
an alien?
But you are an immigrant.
An immigrant, yeah.
And like it starts with an I.
Oh.
So they're immigrants to the human world, right? So
Except for the fact that
hold on.
we know canonically that they all used to be human.
Right, but the demon part of them
Right.
is an immigrant from another world because it's not them, right?
It seems like basically the choices that they made, based on what I understand from the one that we
Like it's a form of possession.
It's a thing of it makes you more inhuman the more choices you choose, more deals that you make with the devil.
Okay, so maybe they're not like actually a demon there, they're just slowly becoming a demon. At any rate, they could be losing their cultural context for the human world, so it might not even be that they're going, oh, no one can stop me, they're just literally going, I just think this is how it works, and I'm not aware of anything else, and since I have basically the privilege of being powerful that I do, no one has corrected me. Sort of like your white male privilege kind of thing, if they might be an asshole, and literally not realize they're being an asshole because no one's ever corrected them.
Right.
And so they might not be going, oh, I'm invincible, no one can get to me, so much as going, no one's ever told me that I'm doing anything wrong, so I don't even know.
Right, especially if people are going to go, don't challenge them when they say something weird, which actually people have talked about, historically speaking, with a lot of royals and a lot of nobility within their courts themselves. A lot of people who came in, you just don't challenge someone who has the ability to turn around and go, hi, off with your head.
Yeah, you don't tell them they've said something stupid or wrong, you just go, yep, pinkies up, everyone.
Here we go. Oh, God.
Right.
We file into Nazmira's carriage, and we tell the other...
We tell Nadia's carriage.
We tell Nadia's escort chauffeur, as it is. We get to tell those particular servants that they need to actually fix the carriage, even though I think we fixed the carriage, right? We did actually fix it. I don't even know if we fixed it. Anyway, they're going to have to get help, and they're going to have to follow us somehow.
They're going to have to get that carriage back on their own.
Yep, good luck, have fun with that.
All right.
I'd file into Nazmira's carriage, Nadia casting a wistful glance to the damaged wheels of her own as we drive away. So I just didn't read the rest of it.
So I was going to say, do we then leave the servants with that carriage? Or do they also, like, climb up on the, driving seat with the other servants, and you have 4 of them across, just scooted together, or 2 of them across, however many it was?
But also, you have a thing going, do you just leave the entire carriage? Do you hook up the horses to the back of the other carriage so that they will still get brought home?
Do you bring your horses pulling your carriage home, or do you just leave the whole thing there with the servants and go, they'll sort it out? I would like to know these details, because again, if you're just going to leave leaving a carriage there is one thing, but leaving it with horses attached is another thing, and leaving it with horses attached and servants is another other thing.
Let alone leaving the entire thing there anyway. It's still weird. It is a sign of wealth that you've just sort of carelessly left behind. Also, I think it probably looks kind of taggy in that sense to go, Especially I wouldn't believe that Nadia for 5 seconds would trust basically Vlastimil with at all being interested in fixing that damn thing.
Nadia, who is extremely entitled and has everything she wants, walks over, pops her custom license plates off of that carriage, and walks away. You're dead to me now.
You're dead to me now. These horses don't exist.
Uh-huh.
Horses.
Horses?
No!
Fuck you.
We've been denounced.
Yes. Anyway, drive away. So what
Drive.
happens to the other carriage, all right, guys?
All right. The moment the estate is no longer in view, Nadia's entire demeanor changes as she whirls on her sister, eyes narrowed. I think she was already pretty pissy towards her sister, so I don't really see this, but that's okay. So you have to somehow change her entire demeanor. Go, friend.
Okay, the thing is she already looked pissed off, impatient, and grumpy. But we're changing completely from that to...
What?
Venomous? To irritated, to sarcastic, to what? Her entire demeanor changes. She seemed... This face was the face she had before.
Yeah, I don't...
What
It's fine.
exactly are you doing here, Mira?
I mean, maybe its entire demeanor changes as in your language shifts, so you somehow are now using the informal language instead of the highly professional formal language, so that's how your entire demeanor changes, because it's literally conveyed through the words you choose to use.
Your verbal conveyance demeanor changes.
Yes.
Your verbal demeanor.
Yes.
Yes, okay, I can see that. Nadia, you invited me, didn't you? I've the invitation right here.
She pulls out a gilded envelope, clearly sealed with the Count's seal, and hands it to Nadia.
Which is not Nadia's seal.
Which is...
Sorry.
It's the Count's seal, not Nadia's seal, which would be the Countess's seal.
Which we assume Nadia would then be using the Count's seal, or she wrote the letter, and for some reason he sealed it. In his absence, I proxy as him and use his seal because I do not have one of my own.
Which sounds also really horrible, and also extremely strange, because you usually had a couple different seals.
That just sounds like an interesting piece of world building to specifically go, while she is standing in for the Count, or while she is ruling in both positions, essentially, because she doesn't turn into a Count, and presumably the Countess has all the power the Count had, whatever amount of power that is, then she never had her own seal, so taking on his position means she uses the Count's seal, and that's completely normal. Like, it's an interesting piece of world building to suggest that she herself does not have a seal, or that she uses his seal even when writing on her own. Now, we can assume also that somebody else wrote the letter, because obviously she didn't, but that her sister would still assume perfectly evenly that it is from her, even though it has his seal.
Yes, which is really interesting, actually. But I was going to say, so with all this talk of seals, I want to just plug a really good book that I at least really enjoyed. It's called The Emperor's Seal, and it's by Brandon Sanderson. And it is the only one...
Soul,
excuse me.
Emperor's Soul.
Emperor's Soul.
But it is about magic that uses seals.
Yes, which is really cool. And I do recommend, if you guys really like anything to do with really complex character studies, and
really, defined magic systems.
Yes.
Absolutely cut and dried, this is how your magic system works.
It's really, really a really fun book.
I think that is my favorite book of his of all time. The Emperor's Soul is a contained little piece. It's not a very long read. It is beautiful. Even he himself has been as beautiful as that world is, I'm afraid to go back to it because that was such a clean piece of fiction that I wrote that I'm afraid of messing it up.
Yes.
Which is, given his massive, multiverse, omniverse, whatever.
The Cosmere.
That's an impressive thing for him to say. And it is a beautiful, concise, tight, clean piece of work.
And personally, I'm actually kind of happy that he is afraid to go back to it because I don't want him to put it into the Cosmere. I'm afraid that his reaction would be, I'm going to put it together. And I'm like, no. I don't know what it is about authors nowadays and going, I'm going to put everything into the MCU. I'm going to put everything into my giant universe.
Is now rolled into one reality and going, you can write different realities.
Please.
Go for it.
Just do something else.
Anyway.
And hands it to Nadia.
Oh, it was such a relief to hear from you after all these years. All three of them? Wait, did you not leave home to come here? You went out and traveled the world first, or did something else? I want to know more about this backstory, because I had just assumed that you left your home to come here 3 years ago.
I mean, that's what I think so too. And it's but I can see how they'd be all these
3 years.
Yeah, that can be a really long time, friend. True. Especially if you're used to, we have this long, intimate relationship, and it sounds like, honestly, that, Nazmira is going I really liked you. Why are you being so hostile towards me?
Or why did you just disappear and never contact, and cut off all contact altogether?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it could be, again, so that thing that sometimes happens with people, your experience might literally not be what everybody else is experiencing. You're going, you've been hurting me, and they go, What?
What?
I thought this is just what we did, and that's why it's
Okay.
important that actually you communicate what your feelings are and what you're perceiving, because sometimes what you think is going on is not what they think is going on at all.
Okay, I haven't brought this up for a really, really long time, but I am gonna say, like, I actually know what you're talking about, but I wouldn't if I hadn't had this experience, okay?
Okay.
Because I don't have, like, a lot of, like, friendship degradation. I don't usually think that I'm hurting someone just by not being around them, but it is something I'm familiar with. So when I moved away from home, after a few years out, my mom contacted me and announced that I'd been written out of her will. And I went, okay, because this was wild and unexpected. It was a random, like, out of the blue contact. And she explained it by going, well, you never came back home, so I assumed you didn't want the house or anything like that. And I'm like, but, like, my dude. And she's like, your brother never came back home either, so, you know, I just wrote him out of the will too, because I just assume you guys don't want anything because you're not here interacting with it. And I'm like, isn't that what a child's supposed to do? Leave home and not come back? Like, somehow we missed this communication together, my parent and I. And it was just, yeah, so it's that sort of thing. For her, it was like, you now have suggested that you are completely detached from this thing. And that could be sort of what, like, Nazmira was going through, of going, you just disappeared completely, and I assumed you would never contact again because of how dead the radio silence was, if you will. And now this thing! Yay!
Yay! And that's the thing, actually, though, that I've noticed with a lot of people, just generically speaking about families. Like, there's this interesting thing, like, particularly in the United States, and it might not apply, obviously, around the world. I've heard varying different stories where a lot of people are like, how do people in the U.S. survive with this idea of being so separate from your family? Like, that is so foreign to some people outside of the U.S.
Foreigners.
Yeah, they're really just like, what, why?
Right. After all these years. You know? I see. Now her demeanor has changed. She looks stunned. Like, what?
She looks
What?
surprised,
What?
actually. She hands the envelope to me, casually, but shakes her head ever so slightly at me when Nazmira is not watching.
She's going, by the way, I didn't write this. Grabs it while looking at Nazmira. While Nazmira looks away, she hands it to Corazon with a meaningful, this was not from me, gesture of her head.
Or is that a, don't open it, don't read it?
I don't think so.
Because actually, I'm not sure what that means. She shakes her head at me. What?
I don't agree. Or it could also just be a shakes my head of, this is wild. Like a what?
Like, I'm not sure what's going on here, kind of thing.
I expect you will be staying until the masquerade is over, then. Of course. I wouldn't miss it for the world, dear sister. Remember that gala you threw for the Hajalan?
I think
Hajalan?
Hajalan.
Hajalian. Right. Hajalan minister? You mean the gala I tried to throw? The one you and our other sisters then promptly took over when you found my work unsatisfactory.
Oh, the bitterness and resentment is so strong.
Them, we're helping. Her, you are literally
in my fucking way.
Taking this away from me. Oh, Dee, you had such a bad cold that night.
I knew it. I'm like,
you are not
Nadia
communicating.
Literally had no idea, and the siblings are all like, we're all in this together. This is just what you do. Like that thing again where sometimes what happens is you go like, I don't understand why the rest of my family cannot fucking get it. This hurts me, but I will not tell them that.
This sounds like one neurodivergent child in a neurotypical family. Everyone else there all knows what's going on and is having a unified experience. And this one person is on the outside, not connected to any of it because it's all unspoken, but everyone else just picked it up through context. And going, why the fuck is everyone like this? They're all awful. My family is atrocious. And the rest of the family is going, everything's great. You seem a little frustrated. Are you okay? You always do this to me. What?
Do what?
Do what? You won't let me do my own stuff. I'm helping? You seem stressed out.
Stop it! Yeah.
I was just say, that's what that sounds like to me, actually. All right.
Actually, I think that's a really good point. Like, really, just a very strongly, basically, neurodivergent person.
In a neurotypical family.
Yeah.
And all the family is not picking up on their cues, only you're distressed. Let's try all of our stuff that works for us on you.
Yep.
And you're going, this doesn't work! Right. You had such a bad cold that night. If it were up to you, you would have walked right out there and given a speech with a stuffy nose and 2 puffy eyes, and you have to keep up appearances, dear. That's what that sounds like
I
to
mean,
me.
that is also part of it. If it were up to you, you would embarrass all of us. It could be a way that a person could read that.
Or if it were up to you, you would have done something inappropriate. And what she might be trying to say is you would have gone out there and made yourself, and compromised your physical health and not done well. But she makes it sound extremely visually oriented. She makes it sound like the optics of the thing, the way she's speaking. And I could totally see someone going, you're telling me that I would have embarrassed the whole family by doing this.
And I can actually see that. That's very interesting.
And I can also see that she would be saying it completely genuinely
I'd be
without
like,
thinking
honey,
about it.
You were sick.
And just
you were like trying to really
describe-
connect to you, going like, what we saw was you had a runny nose, you were extremely physically, visually ill,
and you
would
very
have
fatigued
gone out there regardless
of
and
how sick.
Yeah, of how sick you were, and trying to connect to you. I'm like, yeah, this.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that observation. Very, very good.
I enjoy that as well. This actually gives a lot of insight into potentially how she has misread her family or where this miscommunication has come from. Now, we only have access to one sister at this point, and it's possible the other ones have had a completely different experience. But as balanced as she seems, it seems like the other ones, and as much as Nadia has described it through her own exposition, it sounds like they were all on the same page and she was the only one that wasn't.
Yeah.
And that they weren't unified against her, they just literally weren't connected to her experience at all.
Yeah.
All right. You and I seem to remember that night very differently, Nasmira.
The carriage trails off into awkward silence as we continue our journey. I am not awkward. I am just here.
I am here, but they are creating an awkward silence.
Between the two of them.
Yes.
This is something, I suppose?
It is something to observe.
There's an iciness to Nadia now that I haven't seen her before. Protective coldness wrapped around her shoulders.
Her. I will not even touch Corazon. I will sit here encased in my own experience.
I will scoot against the side of this fucking carriage, and I'm not pouting.
I'm not pouting. What I am is I'm an island. I'm an island that needs no one, not even this magician that I've hired.
No one!
No one.
Not even slightly. None.
Corazon, this is an experience.
This is a thing that I have observed before. I did not realize how far it went. Fascinating. I did pep. Come on, pep. Thank you. Every so often, Nasmira will part her lips, take in a sharp breath, and then think better of it. Nasmira trying really hard, going, wait, what?
Wait, what? There's nothing to say to that. No, I could say, no, that would sound offensive. No, I could say, no, that wouldn't fix it. No, I could, yeah.
Yeah,
I have no recourse for this. I have no way to start this conversation, even.
This silence is unbearable. One of us should say something.
Corazon, this is dumb.
Yeah, pretty much. How stupid. I don't
seethe with
Nadia.
No. Oh my God, Corazon is not in that space at all. It would just be looks up to the carriage in general.
What's Prakra like? I have to now. We've gone from yes, you're very capable to.
I'm caretaking.
Oh my God, why are we back here?
Why am I caretaking for the powerhouse that I came to work for? Corazon has had a fascinating shift, and I've loved this.
What's Prakra like?
This weighted pause. So, Temple's fingers.
What's Prakra like? I ignore the look of betrayal on Nadia's face and smile at Nasmira, who returns the expression tenfold.
Corazon. A very tight, contained smile. I'm being polite.
Nasmira, I will fucking end you.
Nasmira beams, hearts and sparkles and flowers everywhere. Access!
Thank God!
Dear Lord!
I've been trying, so I just...
Looks at you like a lifeline. Looks at you like you are the entire Baywatch crew come to save her from the undertow.
You're like, I'm not wearing that costume, thank you very much.
I am saved.
There's not enough here for it.
Right, tenfold.
Tenfold expression.
Oh, it's wonderful. You'd love it. I'm sure it's quite different from what I've seen of Vesuvia, which was basically in the carriage on the way to the castle, and then on the way out of the Vesuvia on the way to Vlastimil's. But I've seen that much.
I have. It was an experience.
Perhaps very concerned suddenly. Massive, beaming, brilliant smile, and then thinks better of it and shuts down a little bit. Perhaps
sort of reels it in gently, like that was probably a little much.
Pulls it back. Dials it down.
Hi.
Perhaps you and Nadia might move there? I just assume you're together, you are a unit now.
That's again where I was like, oh my god.
We have lots of amenities, you know, let me pitch it like a vacation resort. The amenities are wonderful. And
That's exactly...
a magical academy you could study at. Oh, we have structured magical learning. Astra, no, only the wild magic is good. Only can you be taught by someone who has foraged their way to magical skill in the streets.
I also find that to be really funny of going, there's no real good magicians, there's no good... Immediately, again, I feel like this game sort of like kicks itself in the foot, constantly going, there are no real magicians! Instantly has other magicians that actually show up at Nadia's party in the last one, and now we're going, there's a freaking magical academy! What is up with this game?
I'm wondering if maybe Nadia is being an unreliable narrator in that way, because she has an extremely high standard for what it looks like, and is talking about Vesuvia specifically because she's used to a higher magical standard in Procra since they have an academy.
Maybe?
But she's not saying she's saying it as if she means the world, but she's literally right here in my city.
Right?
Like, it could be more of that.
But then
but
why
it does sound completely at odds of her going, there aren't hardly any real magicians. Everyone is swindlers and, you know, tricksters and illusionists.
But why would Astra ever get on that list if what she values is academic learning? Astra's not an academically learned magician. Period. Neither is you basically your main character. And I thought that doesn't make any sense to me.
So based on my own experience of being an artist, that's a really good point. There are two different types of people that I've encountered as customers of art.
Right.
One that goes, if you've studied somewhere, your art has value. And it doesn't matter how much they fucking love your art. I've been in a couple of art shows, like exhibitions where, you have people coming in and looking at your stuff and going, this is amazing. I've had a couple of really good experiences with my traditional art. Not very many, but a couple. I was going to say, in reference to the public. Personally, I've had great experiences. I love art. I was going to say, where they'll be like, this is really good. I love this. What does this mean? What do you feel about this? What medium did you use? And then going, where did you study? And you say, oh, I'm self-taught. And when...
Instantly.
And they shut down and they go, oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
And then they walk away. Or they then try to change the subject because, oh, I thought your art came from a place of learning and direction. And now it sounds like it's just something random that happened, you know?
Like that you have no thought, you have no education.
And then there's the other side of it of going... Well, if you've had university and structure, then probably you're not as genuine and inspired as someone who hasn't. Mm-hmm. But in the higher art world, the place where traditional art really sells, mm-hmm. there is a lot of emphasis that I have experienced on university learning mm-hmm. and or on college learning, that kind of thing. And the thing is that's really interesting is, you generally do, no matter how good someone is, mm-hmm. if they have a value on that structured learning, on that learning path, they go, oh, you don't quite have it. God, you could have been amazing had you actually gone to university, given what you are now.
It was actually, so to me, I find it to be really funny because there was a time, so before we went into quarantine, basically, mm-hmm. Last year, my friend and I actually went to an art show for an artist in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And my friend and I, because of the way that we were talking about basically the subject matter, the way that the individual who had that gallery set up mm-hmm. had executed their art, and we were talking about, the process, the materials, mm-hmm. what was kind of going on, what we could get out of it, kind of thing. The artists themselves was like, wow, you sound like art students, this thing, whatever.
Like you've gone to school.
Where have you been? Are you going to school? Blah, blah, blah. And we were like, no. And she was really kind of confused and sort of had this, this literal deflating kind of experience of going like, oh, that's interesting. Like, she didn't know what to do with it at all.
There was also a little bit of an experience of going, so you're just saying things, not you actually know what you're talking about.
Yes.
And it's like, it's one of those things. And my friend has a really good point there going, if my idea of there being a magic school in Procra means that there are more magicians in Procra that are of a certain type of skill, quality,
caliber,
caliber of being run through the system and taught. And so she goes, there's no real magicians here. Then if that's the kind of thing she values, it doesn't make sense that she'd be super excited about Astra. So while we don't know what's happening here because it's not specified, it is an interesting thing to look at.
Yes.
All right, let's see.
It's academy.
And a magical academy you could study at. I beg your pardon. Are you now trying to poach my magician sister? You didn't listen. She said both of you could come.
But
She is saying that I'd like to transform your magician, going, yes, you, magician, you could learn so much more at a magical academy. I assume it would have so much to teach you.
Yeah, but also I think it's interesting, too, of going like, why? So Nadia here sounds like it's a direct contradiction going, I actually don't like the Academy of Magicians, they're not real magicians again.
Or just a level of going, if you're talking about my magician, you don't have permission to engage.
Not at all.
Going, Nadia sits up straighter, stops being reluctant to this conversation at all, scoots closer to Corazon. You're trying to poach my magician?
Corazon instantly would just be
Sister?
like, this is very juvenile.
This is extremely juvenile. And Nadia has been behaving extremely juvenile in reference to her family. She seems to regress, as happens a lot with trauma.
Which is also really funny, because again, I would say Corazon as a character would totally regress around Asra.
And they do a little bit.
And they do, actually. Some of their, basically, resistance to Asra is really just because you have been a parrot to me, and I don't know where to put that.
And I don't want to be your child anymore.
Yeah.
Of course not. I want you to come home too, darling. I said the pair of you could come.
Like, I'd always just be like, yes, I want you both to come back. Like, just being like, okay, so clearly you're not listening. I'm going to try saying this again.
Yes, I'd really like you to come home. Darling, tell me, are you really enjoying your life in Vesuvia?
She's like, is that why you stopped talking to us?
I will admit that Vesuvia has many flaws. I am more aware of them than most. But I am planning some big changes on the horizon. Nasmira. Going, it does have problems, and I will fix them, and you will not judge it, because it's mine. Do not engage. Hashtag do not engage.
Don't do it.
Hashtag family. Do not engage.
Right.
I don't know what her last name is, otherwise that could be a thing.
I don't actually remember.
I can't remember.
I don't know if
either.
they actually have.
No, they do. They have a full name.
Saturnava. There
Thank
we go.
you, Satra. Hashtag Saturnava family. Do not engage.
Yes. All right, but we are out of time.
We're out of time.
Oh no, alas. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and also share our stuff if you are having a good time with us. Please also feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi, our Patreon. We have some links in the description down below. Please also feel free to go check out our Twitch, our Instagram. We do actually do live streaming, so if you would like to join us, you are more than welcome to do so. But yeah, other than that, I have been Scandal.
And I'd like to thank our two patrons really quickly, Delta Whisker and Rihanna.
Yes.
And I have been Liz.
And it was great playing with you. Bye!